So, doing another deck profile. This one's going to be to go with the Exodia Infinity Gauntlet. Just my last one was kind of long, so I figured might as well make this one a little shorter and do a deck I like. I'm doing Exodia because it kind of fits the theme of the Infinity Gauntlet, the gather all the pieces you instantly win. So, the issue I always run into with Exodia is the fact that it's never a fun deck to play. If it's Royal Magical Library, it's just draw. There's no interaction with the opponent. So the whole goal, for me at least, is to have some interaction with the opponent and make the deck a lot more fun to play against the other player. So without further ado, obviously, first five, Exodia. They make up, well, basically your win condition. So the hard part with Exodia is finding a deck that can play missing cards in its hand. Because normally you're burning through your hand, trying to board break your opponent, or you're using hand traps. But this is a budget deck, so it's not expected to compete with the meta. And, well, the new virus support is a bit of a godsend due to the fact that it can play with very small amounts of its hand. You're going to burn about 3 cards and be able to keep playing the game. So, first up at 3, Darkest Diabolos. Not even sure if that's the right way to pronounce it, but basically one of 2 boss monsters in the deck. Everyone more or less knows what this card does. It gets special summoned from hand or grave when it's tributed. Well, not when it is tributed, but when any dark monster on the field is tributed. So it turns into a very powerful card. Gamma Seal. You're only running 1. Truth is, this card could be replaced with Trade-In. It's a Trade-In target, it's level 8, and it tributes an opponent's monster. So if you're tributing a dark monster, you can use it to instantly bring out Diabolos. Summoner Monk. Here is more or less how you get to the win condition of the deck, since the goal of the deck is to stall until you get all the Exodia pieces in hand. The issue is you're running a 40 card deck. Odds are you're not actually going to get all the pieces in hand. So, Summoner Monk at 3. And here's where we get into the weirder picks for the deck. Blue Dragon Summoner, which I'm running at 3. Give me a moment. There we go. So, Blue Dragon Summoner is a bad card. It was only printed in one set, and it has too many restrictions to be useful in anything. But, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, if. It is an if, it cannot miss timing. If it is sent from the field to the graveyard, add 1 Dragon Warrior or Spellcaster type normal monster from your deck to your hand. Basically, you run 3, it's 1500 attack, so not great, but the goal is to be able to search out Exodia pieces, because you can search everything except the head. So, I'll leave those there. Tour Guide. It's a virus deck. She searches out Lilith as well as Curry Bandit. So, you have a couple of... Not Curry Bandit, Sangan. There's so many Karibo cards. But, you run 3 Lilith, get at your traps very quickly, and she's a decent card in her own right if you play her right. Tour Guide is a very quick way to gain access to her. Sangan just got an errata and came off the ban list, so we're running him at 3. He says anytime you sent from the field to the grave, 1500 or less attack from your deck to your hand. So that is how you search the head. Just very simply, you run 3 Sangan because they can instantly turn into either the head, they can turn into Tour Guide, they can turn into Summoner Monk. It's a very quick way to get to other parts of your win condition. Trade-In. This card is basically the only draw power in the deck. You're running 2, and it's weird for an Exodia deck to run short draw power, but Gamma Seal and Diabolos are both optional targets. But the nice thing about Trade-In is Diabolos can activate his effect from the graveyard to summon himself. So when you spend it for Trade-In, you're not actually losing anything. And let's say you don't have access to an 8. it's still a spell card you can use for Summoner Monk. You activate it, discard for Summoner Monk, special summon a monster from your deck, which, being Blue Dragon Summoner, very quickly gets you a new Exodia piece to your hand. So, just gonna get Diabolos and Gameciel out of the way. Alright, Inferno Reckless Summon. This card's kinda weird, but it's also a very quick way to win. Basically, you and your opponent both control a monster, and you just special summon a monster with 1500 or less attack. You can activate this card, it's a quick play, so in a chain, to special summon 2 of the same copy from anywhere, except your banish pile, to create 3 copies of Summoner Monk, or Blue Dragon Summoner. Anything you summon with 1500 or less attack, you can instantly make 3 copies of. But your opponent picks one of their monsters, gets 3 copies from their hand, deck, or graveyard. So optimally, you want to play this when they only have an extra deck monster or a token, so they can still meet the condition but not summon it anymore. But, more or less, the whole idea of the deck is normal summon Summoner Monk, discard any generic spell to get out Blue Dragon Summoner, activate Inferno, you get all 3 copies out, that's 3 pieces of Exodia to your hand very quickly and very efficiently. Lair of Darkness, this is just so the deck can keep playing. It makes everything dark, so anything you tribute, it lets you get Diablos, it lets you tribute your opponent's cards. Terraforming, 2, they give you access. 1 Day of Peace, it's a time waster, you get a +1, your opponent gets a +1. More or less if you're just trying to stall for 1 turn. And onto the traps. Very generic, just Torrential Tribute, Crush Card Virus, and Eradicator. Just very generic traps that you can activate using most cards in your deck, where Sangan is a target for the viruses. Darkest Diabolos can be used to get Eradicator to activate. And it's more or less your way of very quickly hindering your opponent's turn. Since this deck's made to stall for time, this deck needs you to stall for time. So you put them together, and you have a way to use your resources while stalling to get closer to the win con. So, the thing that actually makes this deck playable, and very playable at that, is links. Because link monsters send the monster from field to grave for basically nothing. So what you do is you use Summoner Monk and the trading combo to put 3 copies of Blue Dragon Summoner on the field, turn all of them into a Decode Talker. Now you have a relatively efficient boss monster. It's not the best, but you have a good way to keep feeding it materials with tokens, seeing as during your end phase you'll get back whatever you tribute, keeping its attack high at least 3,300. You can get up to 38. And also, you're getting Exodia pieces. So you're putting a big body on the board other than Diabolos, while still keeping your Blue Dragon Summoners. And with Lair of Darkness on the field, you are allowed to tribute your opponent's monster that is linked to Decode Talker. So you can constantly put a token there to keep his attack up, stop your opponent from using the zone. There's a lot of utility. So it's a very simple deck, just your opponent does something, react to it, and try and survive long enough to get the Exodia pieces. I wanted something Thanos themed. This was as close as I could get, and I just don't like Royal Magical Library or the Blue Eyes engine. Just Exodia is a very hard deck to make fun, but this is actually fun to play in my